in Arabic, so this is our first one in English. So welcome everybody who's visiting us today. So just please, if you can, write your name in the chat and what you want us to know about you so that we can get some information as well. All the audios and cameras have been turned off, but please participate by sending messages in the chat. And if you're posting about this, then please could you use the hashtag WomenEd and WomenEdMENA on social media, please. Just to let you know, this will be recorded, so if you don't catch this or you want to share this with someone else, you can do that as well. And please follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Perfect. So just to let you know, if you're not too familiar with Women's Ed, it's about giving women voices, mainly women voices in education, but it's about sharing our stories and supporting each other and networking as well. So the symbol of the microphone is very significant because it's about empowering each other and empowering our voices. So this is, if you want further information, you can go on the Women's Ed website, but this is just looking at the 8 values of Women's Ed. There is a ninth one as well. So we're looking at clarity, communication, connection, confidence, collaboration, community, challenge and change. So those are the 8 values, and there's a last one, which is cake, which is to celebrate, which is quite an important one for you to celebrate our achievements. And the whole premise of Women's Ed stems around this book, which is about being 10% braver. So it's asking, what could you do, or what would you do to make a change if you could be 10% braver? And the 10% is quite important. You ask why just 10%, but it's just that small step, that 10% that everybody can take to be a little bit braver and to reflect and to challenge yourself to be that little bit braver, which I think all of us can do. And the stories today are going to explain and share how the individuals today have been 10% braver in their practice, and hopefully you can share some of yours, or perhaps you can be inspired by some of these stories and share some of yours later on. So Women's Ed MENA, it links to the Middle East and North Africa. So this is primarily giving a voice for this region that we are in now, in Oman and the Middle East and Jordan and all over the Middle East and North Africa. There are other sections and other Women's Ed all around the world, and slowly the movement is growing and getting bigger and bigger. So we're trying to spread the word. So if you know someone that's in another region that may be interested, then they can either follow us or perhaps follow their Women's Ed in their region as well, and share that word too. So Women's Ed, why is it? So it's a global grassroots movement, and the idea is it connects existing aspiring leaders in education. So our mission is to achieve a more equitable balance, and it is through networking events and social media community, and asking our community to be 10% braver. So how can we do that? And sharing our stories. I read a story today online about a young lady who had an interview, and she just put 10% braver on the side of her computer while she was doing her interview, and she felt so much more confident. And that story was so inspiring. But that's what we're doing. We're sharing our stories and inspiring ourselves to be braver and achieve the goals that we're striving to achieve. So today what we're going to do is we're going to meet our facilitators. They're going to share some of their stories, their success stories, and identify some of the challenges that they face in education as women. And then hopefully we'll be able to hear some questions from you as well today. So who are our facilitators? So our first facilitator today is Natasha Hilton. If you're following us on social media, you will see that she has got a headship in Qatar. She's put a little story about herself there, which has just got a quote that inspires her, but also a story when she was 10% braver. So I'm going to hand over to Natasha, and she can share some of her stories with us. Welcome, Natasha.
Hi, can you see me? I can see you. I don't know if anyone else can see me.
I think we can, yes.
Yep, perfect. Okay. I love that you said I put that together. I did not put that together. Obviously, Esther put that together because I'm not that skilled. I just gave her the content and actually was prompted a lot by Esther to help me. So thank you. So yeah, I'm not going to kind of go through all of that. It just gives you a summary of kind of I suppose where like Esther said, I was 10% braver, and I suppose the latter end of the journey that I've come to now, to be fair. So if I just give you a bit of a background on me. So originally, I'm from London. I'm saying obviously, maybe not, maybe my accent's not that strong, but I'm from London. I taught in London, and became a deputy head in a school in London. Me and my husband had a chat one afternoon, decided we were going to go international. So over a really quick 2-week period, we'd applied for jobs, got jobs, etc. So we made the move to Oman 6 years ago now. And I've had lots of opportunities there in terms of developing myself from a CPD perspective. I had a really amazing head teacher in the school I was in London as well, who was really, I suppose, amazing in showing me who I was as a leader, and that was really important to me. And then coming internationally, I've had opportunities here, like I just said, and then yeah, I've been here for 6 years, so felt that it was the time to make a move. And I say it's 6 years, it hasn't just been this year that I've been applying. I'd say I've been applying for further leadership positions over the last 2 years, and I'll go into that in more detail in a moment. And then thankfully, I've just got the headship at a school in Qatar called Park House English School. So staying within the Middle East, which I love. And so that's kind of a summary of me and where I am now. And I suppose the point of this is about identifying how I came into finding out about Women Ed, and how Women Ed MENA actually started to progress. So, or develop, or start really. So I went to the COBIS conference. I'm saying it was last year. I'm sure it was only last year that I went. It felt like it was longer ago. I went to a COBIS conference last year, and Vivian Porritt was doing a workshop there. So she started a workshop, and it was about Women Ed. So I attended this workshop, didn't know anything about it, didn't know what it was going to be. It just had the title Women Ed and women in leadership. And so when I attended this workshop, it was enlightening. It was so I suppose it kind of like hit me, because I didn't realize that I wasn't the only, you just think it's just you, but actually it made me realize there's loads of people out there feeling the same as me, where I kept feeling like I was hitting a bit of a brick wall in my leadership. I didn't really know where I was going, etc. And I went up to Vivian at that point after the workshop, and I said, look, Vivian, I'm really, really interested in this whole movement. Is it just in the UK, etc.? And she was like, no, we've started them up all around the world. And I said that I was obviously in Oman. Was there one for the Middle East? And she said, no, but actually we're trying to get one together. So that was amazing. So I emailed her following that, and when I emailed her, she emailed me straight back, and she linked us with somebody called MENA, she's just resigned from the position now, but was the lead that was based in the UK, but a lead in it through the Middle East. And she then got me in contact with loads of people, Rania, and who's actually in Qatar, so I'll be meeting her when I'm there as well. And yeah, there's a big network now, and obviously I work with Esther, and then Esther jumped on board as well. So there's a big group leading Women Ed MENA now. And actually, in terms of where we're going with this, is kind of how I've used it, and I would say how I think that it should be used, in terms of it's a network which is completely supportive. What's really important, I think, that I need to highlight as well, is just because it's called Women Ed, it's not just about women leadership. There's also, if you ever see the hashtag he for she, there's also a network of people, women and men, that are there wanting to make leadership in education more inclusive, and bringing about those opportunities for women to be able to have impact in leadership, because there are lots of men out there that understand that there needs to be a balance on leadership teams. So that's really, really important, and I think that's really important for us to highlight as well. And being 10% braver for me, that was what this was all about. It was about having a network of people, connecting, and I think the main thing for me, and I think Esther's put it in my header on the bio that she did, was there's been significant things that have happened to me in my leadership over the last year. And I don't know if she highlighted it in there, but I think she did actually, in terms of how many applications I went for in just getting the headship that I've got now. And I would say it's over 20, maybe more than that, embarrassingly so. But that the element of being 10% braver was really important, because there were so many times when I was going to give up. There were so many times when I questioned myself and questioned who I was and whether I needed to start changing myself in order to be able to get that next job or get the headship or get whatever it was I was applying for. And I read the book, and that was really, really important, because there was key information and statistics in there that had a huge impact on me. One thing was things like why were there more males in leadership positions than females? And I was always like, oh yeah, men always get the jobs. And actually, it wasn't just that. There was loads of stats in that book that highlighted for you, actually, it's more likely that men will apply for a job not hitting all of the spec, whereas most women will not even make an application for a job until they hit 100% of the spec. Well, actually, if there are more men putting in an application, then it's more likely that they're going to get a position. There's lots of stats in there that are really important to read, and lots of them resonated with me. So it started making me then just apply to anything that I felt I would fit me, rather than me going, oh no, I don't quite hit that. Because actually the spec is just an outline. It's not necessarily you must hit every single one of these. And me getting this position is key for that. And that was one element. But then the other element was actually following Women Ed on Twitter. So I actually started my Twitter handle when I was at the COBIS conference. So it was definitely last May. So I was at the COBIS conference, and I literally went into my hotel room and I started my Twitter handle. I was like, do you know what? I actually need to start following this group and seeing what this is about. And it was amazing, because actually there are people that are just putting up messages saying, oh my gosh, guys, I've got an interview tomorrow, I'm so nervous, you know, and then hundreds of thousands of people are just messaging back saying, good luck, I hope it goes well. And you know what's so nice? They were then messaging back saying thank you, and you feel like you create this kind of like network of friends that you don't even know, and that's really, really lovely, because there are people that you don't know and they're encouraging you, which is really nice. And actually people in education, because it's all well and good going home to your husband or you whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to be okay, hun. They have to say that. But actually when there are strangers out there doing that, that's really lovely. So that was really encouraging for me, and that was the impact. And then I would say there are two main things that I have kind of taken away from following Women Ed. And it's one of them is about connections. I have made so many connections in education this year just by being on Twitter. People that I don't know, people have messaged me. I've messaged people asking for support. I actually messaged Alison Creel the other day, who actually was one of the Women's Ed leads in the UK as well. And she messaged me back within 10 minutes and was like, yes, Natasha, what can I do for you? So supportive, so willing to help. And that's definitely something I've taken from this. And then the other thing that I would say is confidence. It has built my confidence, because you have people just going, well done, that was amazing, and that builds your confidence. And that's really, really, really important, because when you're confident and you go in feeling confident, you will do well. And then I suppose one of the last points I wanted to make is, you know, there are people on here now, and I can't see the total number, because if I touch my screen, I'm guaranteed I'm going to close my video or something. But I highly suggest that all of you start following Women Ed MENA, start tweeting and sharing this with your friends in education as well, because it has had a huge impact on me. So I know I'm like normal. So I know it will definitely have a huge impact for you guys too. Please feel free to ask any questions, because I'm here and I'm willing to help and answer and support. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that I could say in terms of I've gone through this and this has happened and I've gone through that and that's happened, and really normal stuff. And actually, I'm hoping in a minute Esther will kind of give us an opportunity, because she's quite good at challenging me and asking me lots of questions, and then I respond, and that then you'll most really get the most out of me sharing my story as well, because this is about us being together, supporting each other, having challenging conversations, and getting the best out of each other. Does that make sense? So yeah, I think that's a bit of a summary. Esther, is there anything that I'm missing? Anything else I should be sharing? Lead me, please. I can't hear you. Maybe they can hear me.
There we go, I've unmuted.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job explaining your background. I think your story is empowering, because I think a lot of people, and some people have put in the comments as well, that about the job specs and not necessarily applying. And I was reading today about imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not good enough for the job, which really links into that. So I found that a really interesting sort of, I don't know if it's in this particular report, it was specifically around women and how women feel less sort of qualified or less able to do a job potentially, but men just generally just go for it. They don't think about it in as much detail as we try to unpick it and challenge ourselves. So I think my question to you would be, what has been the most difficult part, apart from looking at yourself, what has been the most difficult and challenging part in your journey, like on an individual basis? Because I think we have to challenge ourselves regularly. But what have you done that's really challenged yourself? I know 10% Brave has been you applying for more jobs, but has there been anything specific that you sort of were like, whoa, that's really like a turning point almost?
Yeah. I think the turning point for me was me realizing that I wasn't going to change who I am. I kept trying to fit into a box that I thought was there, an expectation. And actually, every time you're kind of knocked back, I was like, oh, it's me, that it's something about me. And actually, I realized it wasn't. The schools were just not the right fit. I've got maybe a very different personality to what they were expecting. I would say that, I had a feedback from one specific interview, and I was told you need to be gentler. And it hit me to my core, because I was like, hang on a minute, what do you mean? What's wrong with me? Why? And it was personal, because I felt I don't hug and I don't cry necessarily, and maybe I don't pat people on the back as much as some people may expect of me or expect of a woman. And at that point, I then sat back and went, do you know what? No, this is not okay. I need to make sure I'm in a place that fits what I'm about, and that was important. I am not going to change who I am to fit into a place. And also, I think what I did do was I made a really clear decision about who I was as a leader. What was it about me, and what was different about me, maybe, or not necessarily different, but what were the things that I held close to me that I felt were important as a leader? And I think there's a very clear, any leadership course you go on, there's a very clear, significant difference between a leader and a manager. And I was really clear about not wanting to be seen as a manager, not wanting to be seen as the person. Don't get me wrong, getting the paperwork in and doing all of that stuff and manning time, etc., etc. They're very, very important aspects, absolutely. And I definitely can do them. But I wouldn't say that they are the most important things. The most important things are about being personable, having empathy, ensuring that you know how people are feeling, knowing what the temperature's like around the people that you're leading. They to me are the important things. Having a connection with the children, having a connection with your staff, having a connection with the parents, and that was the important thing for me, and that was the bit that I had to learn. To make sure that was at my core, that was at my gut, especially after the bits of feedback that I had, because that bit about being gentler was like, well, actually, no, I know that the people I work with don't necessarily see that, because I knew that there were people that didn't even really know me, but they would come to me for support and come to me for getting things done. And so, yeah, does that answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah.
I waffled a bit there.
Good. I have a question from one of the listeners today, and they're saying that they asked the question, did you always want to be in leadership? Which I think is a really good question, because I don't know if all our paths start off the same, but did you always know that you wanted to be in leadership?
Did I always know I wanted to be in leadership? Do you know what? I think most probably I did. But I think that that's just been me as a little girl. Like, I was the older sister, so I've always taken the lead in everything. So I've always, you know, like you will call a bossy little kid. I've had that sisters around, so everyone was always like, oh yeah. And you know, when you say that to a child, and some people see it as quite negatively, because it's like, oh, they're being bossy. But I think that it really is just about, actually, as a child, I kind of had shown leadership traits. So yes, I kind of did. However, there were definitely times throughout my career where I turned back and I went, actually, I don't know if I want this anymore. But that was usually because I was in positions or in schools or in places where I didn't really understand what was going on, or I didn't get the vision, or I didn't like it. And that made me question whether I wanted to be in leadership. And actually, when I pulled away from that and I said, well, actually, it's just because it's not being done the way I think it should be done. That's not necessarily it's the right way or the wrong way. It's my opinion of how it should be done. That was the only time I ever questioned whether I wanted to be in leadership.
Thank you. And we've got a couple of more questions, but I do want to introduce Reem so that we can bring her in and some people can ask her some questions as well. Thank you for waiting, Reem. So if we move on and introduce you to Reem, I'll actually hand over to her so she can introduce herself. We'll get through to her slides in just a second, but we'll talk a little bit about where you're from. Do you want to introduce yourself, Reem?
Before I introduce myself, I would like to thank Women Ed to give me the opportunity to hear Natasha's story. Thank you, Natasha, for sharing this. You are very brave indeed. And Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's really an honor to be a part of this group. I was introduced to Women Ed by Rania Sawalhi, and it was a pleasure to work with her. Rania, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but surprisingly, I was counting the years, and it's more than 10 years that when we worked together. So who am I? I'm Reem. And I think I tried to become 10% braver. And if I'm going to, it's similar to Natasha, I think since I was a kid, it's something that happened that you become stronger. And I have to say that my mom has a significant role in this, as she herself has been through so many difficulties in her life and quite challenging positions, where she lost her son and her mom at the same time. And then instead of being weak, she was very strong. And being her only daughter, she made sure to empower me and to give me the power to make the right choices in life, to pick up what I want and what I don't want, not to be afraid to fail, and not to be afraid to apply for anything that I believe is going to make a difference for me and people around me. I loved your quote, Natasha. Unfortunately, I don't have one. I'm going to discuss how we were 10% braver, so maybe we can move on, Easter, so I don't take so much time. I'm going to get there when we were 10% braver at Al Amal School.
Yes.
So basically, yes, I'm blessed to have 2 full-time jobs. I'm a mom of 3 lovely boys, and I'm also a director of Al Amal School. And between these 2 photos, when they were very little, and this photo, the other photo on the right hand, which is only last year, so many things happened. So basically, people try to let you down and tell you cannot study. You're a mom, you have 3 kids, there's no time for this, you have a full-time job. And basically, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I finished 4 higher education certificate after my BA and while being a mom. And I have to say that while doing my master's degree, I actually quit. So I stopped and I said, I'm not going to continue anymore. I can't do this anymore. And we all have these up and down feelings and times. And then my husband went to the university He paid my tuition fees because I didn't have the money at the time. And he said, I know you can do it. And I think, yes, I was 10% braver, but I think he gave me 5% of this 10%. And just looking at the kids, I wanted to be a role model. And I wanted to raise boys that believe in women empowerment. And then in between, I struggled. I moved between countries. I was working. We can go for the one which is before Easter. So there were some jobs that I got, and there were some jobs just similar to Natasha that I might have fought for. So basically, I worked in across the Gulf. I worked internationally, and then I moved back to Jordan, which I'm originally from Jordan. And there is one story similar to Natasha that I'm going to tell. So one day, I was managing a group of schools, and then my boss was asked to leave because he was not doing a good job. And for a whole year, I was working in that institution, doing all the job that this man was doing. And and so many people applied for this position. And then I said, I need to apply for this. So after a year of doing a great job there and being the acting manager, I applied for that job. And the answer came no. And the answer came no because you are a woman. It was a very clear answer. That day, I quit. I quit like a dream job. It was a dream job. I quit. I had my tickets ready and I moved back to Amman. A week later, I got a phone call and they said, we couldn't find a replacement. We want you back. So I sat with my high heels and I said, you know what? I have my conditions now. I need a bigger salary. I need a better package. I need to make sure that it's stable. And I got what I want. So yes, we need to be stronger. And whenever we hear a no, we should know it's not because of us. And a couple of years ago, after I moved back to Amman, I made a phone call to Rania. And I told her, Rania, I don't know if I'm ready to do this. I have a very good position in Amman. I have a very good job in Amman. I work in the biggest international school in Amman. And guess what? I want to quit all this. I got my master's degree, which was related to refugees and working in the camps. And I feel I want to pay back to the community. And I want to move to a different area where I'm going to serve a different community, where I'm going to provide the service for people or for students in an area which is a modest area with limited abilities, and I want to empower people there. And that's how we started Hope, Al-Amal. So thank you, Rania. The other day, she told me 2 years ago, we need more like this. And that's how we started, and I moved to Al-Amal. Al-Amal is 50 years old. It's not a new school. And the lady on the left, on the top left, is the lady who started Al-Amal and who is also very brave. So we are all a group of brave women. She is a school by herself, I have to say. And what we wanted the most from this school is to provide new education to this old school, to introduce something new. We as a school wanted our grade 6 students to graduate while they're doing their community service, which is something very new. The photo in the middle is introducing new ideas about teaching. And for the parents there, for the community there, it's like they're playing. This is not education. When you ask the children to move in front, to stand in front of a group of students and express themselves, this is for me is education. One of the photos that I shared with you here on the extreme right down is that these kids are sitting in the hallway because one of the girls in that class, she said, you know what, Miss Reem, I don't want to have my lesson inside the classroom. Can we move the chairs outside? And we did. So the whole class was moving around. We moved all our tables outside and we had the class outside, and we supported the ideas of these kids and of these generations. And we know as educators and as leaders, the impact we have when we do this. We don't only impact ourselves. When we are braver, we as educators make a whole community 10% and 110% even more brave, because it has a domino effect. If I can move to the next slide, Esther, I would really appreciate it. So I asked this in one of the groups, if they made a movie about teaching during pandemic, what would its title be? I would like to hear the participants' ideas about this.
Question. It's a good question.
Because I got replies like Mission Impossible. I got replies like, I don't know, the most difficult time in my life. I got very awkward, but very nice replies at the same time. For us, it was quite challenging because we were serving a community where there is no previous technology application ever, to the point when we sent the link for the Google assessment and asked the kids to have their assessments done online, they literally stood outside our school. This is how challenging it was for us. We had tried to serve a community where there are no laptops or tablets available, and sometimes not even an internet. There is no proper teachers training. There is no community awareness about how important it is to sit behind the tablet or the mobile and educate the kids. And then we had a meeting on Zoom, all of the teachers, and we said, you know what? We're not going to let one student survive through this without education. We're not going to accept any excuses, and we're not going to give them any excuses. And it was quite challenging. So for students who did not have internet, we'll have phone call conversations for them the whole day until they have their internet up and running. For students who don't have laptops, we will make sure that we call someone who knows someone and provide maybe a mobile for them or something, a smart device for them. There were many special cases. There were families who are totally illiterate, and you will have only this one child coming to Hope, Al-Amal, just to have their education. And we wanted to make sure that this child will get the proper education. So we'll make the account for them. We'll do everything for them, and we'll be over the phone with them and make sure that they know the steps and they know how to get in. There were families with disabilities who are either blind or who are deaf. And then there is also, again, this one child or one girl at our school, and there's no one, absolutely no one, who can read the messages that we're sending. And again, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we succeeded to have all these kids attending all our Zoom live sessions, or being there on the phones with them maybe for hours until midnight, or even I don't know. I think that for me, I have to say that Al-Amal dedicated team of women has done miracles during this pandemic, with all the negative impact of Corona, of COVID-19. I think for us there was a spot of hope in our school. There was this that we will not accept no as an answer. And we ended up, this is me dancing on the left, because finally we made it. We took our certificates and we ran all over the graduates in grade 6. We went to their houses one by one. We gave them a thank you note. We gave them a gift. We gave them a certificate, and we celebrated this success. And that's the last C in Women Ed, the cake. So this is our story at Al-Amal, and this is my story that I wanted to share with you. And I just wanted to say that we cannot accept no for anything. There's always a way to get things done. That's it. And any questions are welcome.
There was one directed at you. There's a few that are directed to all of you at the end, but there was one specifically directed to you, Reem, about after you were employed as a female leader. How did your relationships change and progress? So did you have to address the inequality directly?
Basically, how it changed. The first time I moved, it was a group of companies. The first meeting I went into the first meeting, and they thought I'm the secretary of the director. And then how it changed the minute I started talking. I think that's when it changed, when I started my presentation and I was very confident and I knew what I'm saying. And how did I address it? I just believe that it should be a hand by hand, the same way I was raised up, the same way I'm raising up my 3 boys, and the same way my husband stood next to me the day he paid for my tuition fees. So this is how I address it. I address it the same way I was raised up and the same way I'm raising up my kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on and we'll ask. I've got some really good questions here, which I'll ask at the end. I'll do a little bit about me. I feel, how can I follow on from these amazing ladies with their amazing stories? My name's Esther. I was also from London. I'm also from London originally. Well, I'm from lots of places, but I grew up in London. So most of my experience is in London. I'm currently head of year 6, working with Natasha in Oman. And I think I struggle to actually put this profile together because I think it's difficult to tell your story, but I'm always so inspired by other people's stories, and your one in particular, Reem, about your masters, because I started my masters as well, and I felt like such a failure because I struggled to continue it, and I made the decision that I was going to put it on hold. So I find it so inspiring that you were able to do that and come back to it, and that you completed it. So that in itself is really inspiring. But I think one of the quotes was that just, you know, everything that happens to you, your failures, your successes, your bumps, they make you you. And I think that's what I find empowering about Women's Ed, that we all have our stories and they're so valid and so important and so inspiring for other people, however small, and even the failures, the things that we think we've not done very well, are actually really, really inspiring and motivating. So thank you for your stories, and thank you both for inspiring me. So I think on the next slide, I've just got a few things. So this was quite important to me and my journey, and I'm still finding it, but just finding my voice. And I struggled for a long time to speak my voice and to speak my truth and what mattered to me. But this was just the really important, being able to find what you feel you need to say, and realizing that whatever you say is important, that your voice matters and that you matter, wherever you're from or wherever you come from, whatever your background. So that was a really important for me, just generally, whether it's in leadership or just in any kind of environment that you're in. And that your voice doesn't have to be loud. And if you go on the next slide, there's the picture of, of a small cat with a lion, about having quiet confidence. That you don't always need to be loud and brash and abrasive, but your voice and your confidence can be a quiet voice, and it's that voice that comes back every day and kind of chips away whatever you need to work out and work on. I think the word integrity stands out for me in leadership. I've met some really amazing leaders who have really strong integrity. And to me, I think when it comes to the leadership journey, when I see people's stories online and things that they're fighting for, working towards, like, for example, you, Reem, and your story of giving everything up to work for something that you believe in and that you feel really passionately about, that just shows a lot of integrity. That's really, really inspiring. So that is important. And when I'm seeing lots of stories on Women's Ed, that really stands out to me. And then I think the biggest thing that I've got from Women's Ed as well is putting ourselves up, everyone helping each other and raising each other. And that brings back to what you were saying, Natasha, about how supportive the online community is, people that you've never met. I was nervous about sending an email, and I put something online, and straight away this lady got back to me, was like, look, if you want me to read over it, I'll read over it. And I've never met her, and she was giving her time up for me. So I think that's really, really powerful, just how we can share our voices, share our successes and our confidence and our integrity, and inspire each other to raise each other up. So those things are really great when it comes to Women's Ed, just generally. Yes, so attending today is 10% bravery. We've got lots and lots of questions from our panel. So I was wondering if I could post some to you. Let's have a look from here, which was really, really good. One which was a good one is, how can men support us? So how can men support us without feeling like they're mansplaining or, you know, like talking over us or talking for us? So I think that's quite a valid question, because we want more men to be involved. I think it's important that this equality is not a female led, it's about everybody supporting everybody, but understanding that there's an equality that may need addressing. So how can men support us in the long term?
I think, first of all, can I say thank you to any men that are in the room? That is like the first and foremost.
10% break.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, because it's really appreciated. And like I said, there is that hashtag he for she. And I think that it's quite funny, because the men that are in the room and that hashtag he for she, they are usually the men that don't need to be told how to non-mansplain things, because actually they usually know and they're supportive anyway. I think it's about sitting back and just being quiet and allowing people to talk. Like Reem said, she said that as soon as she opened her mouth and did her presentation, people then sat back and listened because she had something to say. And it's similar to you, Esther. You've got a voice, and it's just about allowing us that voice without feeling that we need rescuing, because trust me, we don't. And I think that's it. It's just about just be quiet and just give us a chance, and we're okay. We'll survive.
Do you agree, Reem, or do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, surely, I totally agree. I think I'm done with the idea is that we wait for someone to rescue us. We're done with this. We're here to be hand by hand. I raised 3 boys. I raised them to respect women. I came from a family which are all males except for me, and I've never waited for someone to rescue me. However, I would surely appreciate the support, but I will not be waiting for it. We drew our path. We don't wait for anyone to draw it for us. This is what I believe.
Thank you.
Wow, Reem, that was strong. That hit me to my core.
So another question, which was a good one as well, is how can you remain confident while remaining approachable? So it's how you can be confident and assertive, but still be approachable, and people can come and still talk to you.
I think being human. I think having those conversations, it doesn't always have to be, right, we're going to have a meeting. It needs to be that you're open and honest and yeah, just having normal conversations and connecting with people, I think is really, really important. You know, and I think one of the main things that I've noticed more recently actually is saying hello to people, actually. And people knowing that you recognize and you see them. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with people recently where they've said, well, that leader doesn't know who I am. They don't know who I am, or they walk straight past me and don't even say hello. And I think that when you start doing that, it's kind of like, I don't know, you've built this kind of little bubble of importance around yourself. You're not more important than anybody else. I will just point that out to everybody out there right now. We are all human. Everybody deserves the same amount of respect as everybody else. Doesn't matter what your position is. Doesn't matter who you think you are, whether you're male, female, alien, cat, dog. Yeah, you need to be paying people the same respect that you expect back. And I think that, yeah, just the hello and those casual conversations, so you build some sort of normal relationship that allows people to feel like you're human. It's about being human, I think. That's my take on it anyway.
Natasha, I'm very excited that I'm sharing this with you. I think you're reading my mind in a way. However, names these are people I worked with, and I really appreciate they put their time and decided to come and share this experience with us. And if this is an indicator of something, it indicates, as Natasha said, like when you walk by, it's the small details which matter. When you walk by, I do believe in equality, and I do believe that everyone is important in their position. We cannot run the school without the security. We cannot run the school without the director. We cannot run the school without the teachers. Everyone is important in their position. And with this, with being the director, actually puts more burden on your shoulder to give everyone the attention that they need, to understand what they're going through, as Natasha said, to understand that they are humans, and at the same time, being respectful does not mean that you will let go with the work. So keeping the balance between these two things, that with responsibility, there is liability, is very important, and at the same time to understand that every work matters, that the wheels cannot go, or that your strength is as strong as the weakest link in the chain. So this is very important. I think you need to have an open door policy. You need to walk in between. You need to say good morning. You need to say happy birthday. And these things matter because we are humans at the end of the day.
Agree completely. Thank you for that, ladies. We have another few questions. So one is, as a female, what has been your biggest obstacle I think you may have answered some of this already, but have you found another obstacle as a female specifically?
For me, it was, I don't know if you want to go ahead, Natasha, please go
No,
ahead.
go, Reem. I'm thinking, Esther, what have you found an obstacle? Come on, stop throwing it at us. I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Thanks very much.
Okay, so one day someone came to me and he said, "You're a mom, you can't do this." And I say, for me, I'm privileged to be a mom. I'm privileged to have these 2 full-time positions. I'm privileged that I miss my boys when I have long working hours, and then I come back home and I get this quality time with them. For me, it was to try always to explain myself that as a mom, I still can balance. There are priorities in life, and these are 2 important things for me: being a mom, being a leader also outside the house within my position. So this for me was the challenging part, and also the night shifts of studying Easter. Prepare yourself, you will be studying at midnight.
Actually, I do actually have a question that's been directed at me on this one, so I'll answer that one now. There's a question that says, finding your voice is empowering and speaking your voice is courageous, but what happens when your voice is not being heard? You've been given a seat at the table, you've brought your own, but it's still not being heard. And I think that's quite difficult. And I think I'm still trying to find that space where you have a voice, and it can be frustrating because maybe you're not being heard all the time. But I think you have to, this is where 10% braver comes in. I think this is where you feel empowered by listening to other people and their stories and feeling that not giving up, not, if what's important to you, and obviously choosing what's important, but, choosing the battle that you wish to fight, that you need to fight, or you feel you need to fight, and making sure that you do that respectfully and you don't give up. I don't know if you guys want to add to that. That's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I think, Esther, I would say that. I think it's about choosing your battles, knowing which to fight. That's super important. But it's also about your core values. If it's something that you truly believe in and you're not being heard, you need to start questioning if you're in the right place. And that's not saying, oh, you're giving up. Because actually there is a certain point where you can be banging on that door constantly, and actually no one's opening that door to say, well, actually, here, I'm listening to you. And if that's the case, do you really want to be working in an establishment like that where they're not listening to your core values, your purpose? That would, there are some times where you just have to say, do you know what, at this, I'm out. Drop the mic, I'm gone.
Reem is testament to that, isn't she? When you were like, I'm not having it, and then
absolutely. And then what did you do?
After you left,
back on your door.
Yeah, and not only this, Natasha, also, of course, I totally agree with you. And on top of that, there are times when we are weak, because we are humans, and being weak is not shameful. And yes, there are times when you're going to be frustrated. There are times when they're going to shut down the doors, but that's when you need to be 10% braver.
Absolutely. We have another one, which is, what are some of the things that we as women do unconsciously that may be detrimental to our journey? Is there anything?
Can you repeat?
So one of the questions is, what are some of the things that we as women do unconsciously that may be detrimental to our journey? And what can we do about it?
Overthink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's similar to, the data I was talking about in the book, where we're looking at the spec and we're thinking about it too much. You just don't take the leap of faith. You're thinking about a million things. Oh, I'm a mum. Can I do it? Have I got the time? Do I actually want to sacrifice that time? Can I do that? You start thinking of all of this other stuff and don't just focus on the task in hand. I think that's what I do anyway. Like, I'm like, oh, and you start challenging and talking yourself out of it. And that's most probably the thing that's most significant for me.
I don't think.
You just do it.
Consciously thinking.
I really don't overthink things. I try not to. However, I cannot take serious decisions without thinking about the family and the consequences, which I think I don't see it as a weakness, because if I try, it doesn't work all the time, to put things in the right place, then I can move forward towards what I want. One of the things, again, I think that both males, females, they have their strengths and weaknesses, and I don't think it's related to the gender as much as it's related to the personality itself.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, I agree.
True. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions just yet. I think I've got through most of them.
So there was just one, the deputy, and I know I'd answered
Oh,
her
yes,
directly.
Sorry, yes.
The only reason I want to address this one is just because there may be other people in the room that are in the same position. So somebody had said they were going to be 10% braver and making an application for a deputy head position. Well done. That's exactly what you should be doing. Make loads of applications will be my first message. And can I give any advice? And I would say that there are a couple of things here. And one of the key things that I definitely changed about myself was recognizing this is a two-way process. It's not just about them choosing you, it's about you choosing the right school. And you need to get that into your head before you walk in that room. This is about you going in and going, is this the right place for me? That's the first thing I would say as a piece of advice. Second thing is research the school for two purposes. One, because you need to know if it's the right place for you, but also because actually that when you start making your responses personal, when you start I don't know, giving direct responses to what's going on in their school, they're more likely to go, yeah, she's researched our school, she understands, or he, if there's anyone in the room wanting to apply as a male as well. And then the last one was just be yourself. It may not, don't come, and I know you're going to anyway, but if you don't get the position, and I'm all about putting the right energy into the world, so make sure you're putting positive energy in the world. However, if you don't get this position, don't let it dishearten you. And I know it's easy for me to say that right now, but it's just because it wasn't for you and it wasn't meant for you and it wasn't the right place for you. And the right one is out there. And yeah, and if there's anything more specific, look, I'm on Twitter. I did ask the question, what was it for? Was it a curriculum? Was it assessment? Was it, because I could give you some more direct questions to ask and some more things to actually specifically look at. I'm more than happy if anyone emails me, DMs me via Twitter. I'm more than happy to respond to people individually, and I'll have conversations as well. We can Zoom or anything as well. So I'm here.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Do you have any advice, Reem, about anyone applying for a deputy? To add to that?
Same here. I'm also open to any questions. Anyone who would like to approach me I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not very active on Twitter. Please let me know. My advice is that do what you are passionate about, and don't think about the position, and eventually you will get there. You need to believe in what you're doing. You need to be passionate about it. You need to wake up in the morning and love what you're going to do next. There are, of course, days that you will be up and down, but you need to put your heart into it, and then things will follow.
Brilliant, thank you. So we have a slide with the question, fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, which I think are all part of human nature. So the question is, do you have any strategies that you use to face these? I'm asking you guys.
Girl, Esther, do you have any strategies to face it? Do you know what it is? It's just throwing yourself out there, and I suppose just trying your best to put them to the back of your mind, because these are all of the things that start making you question yourself, right? So I think, you know, you're always going to have doubts, have worries, and be scared. Like that's, you know, that is human nature, and it is, I suppose, just part of our makeup. But it's that 10% braver, just that little step, that little application that you've made, that conversation with somebody in the network, you know, us having these conversations, like literally, I love having these meetings and listening to Reem speak now. Like we've never met face to face. We had one meeting the other day, you know, and I feel like I know her, and just hearing her speak, it's positive, it's, you know, it's enlightening. Like I I feel positive. Like I feel like I could be like working with you, and we'd have a
Same
really,
here,
really
Natasha.
good. It's
Same
lovely.
here. Likewise.
Just, you know, this is what this is all about, though. You come away from this, and you know, if I had a day where I was like, do you know what? Actually, I could message Reem now and just say, "Come on, Reem," and that's what this is all about. It's, you know, we've got this network of people now where if you are feeling any of those things, actually, there are so many people out there that you could just call on, and they could be like a positive voice, a voice that just kind of clicks you out of feeling like that. And that's what it is. You're going to feel them. There's no way of not feeling them, but it's about how you get yourself out of feeling like that and putting yourself back out there. But do you know what, Reem? The thing that really hit me the most there was wake up with a purpose, wake up with your core. You know, what you said there, it was like, are you waking up happy? Are you passionate about what you're about to go to? Because all of those things you can easily sideline then if you're waking up happy to go into something in the morning. It's lovely to hear that.
True. For me, I think the word that came to me when I saw fear, doubt, worry, and anxiety is being positive. I can write a book. I'm not a good writer as you are, Natasha, but I can write a book about how many times I thought that, you know what, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why it's me? Why this happened to me? Why is this happening? And then at the end, I find out that it happened for a good reason.
Absolutely.
Things had turned out to be much, much better.
Absolutely.
And if I stayed in that position or if I stayed in that place, I won't be where I am now or where I want to be in the future. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, every time I look at things, I know that they're happening. I think inshallah, yani, I cross these because I know things happen for a reason and it's always a good one. So yes, we need to stay positive and to surround ourselves with positive people, to think positively and to know things will work out. This will also go and another day will come with better opportunities and better things are waiting for us.
That is amazing. That is so right.
Thank you.
Positivity and thinking the best will come and what happens for a reason. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I haven't had any more questions. I don't think we've got any more. So thank you to everybody who has put a question forward. And thank you for voicing and sharing. Please continue to do that on Women's Ed and join us on the Twitter feed and continue to ask questions and to share any questions that you have with any of us or any people across any of the Women's Ed, but particularly if you're in our region, to do that. So we have Twitter chats. We're also hoping we're going to start a book club as well and have some more meets. So if you log onto our Twitter page, then you will find out more information about that as well. So thank you so much. Yes, please join us wherever you can. So this is being recorded and this will be shared as well on there with the link being shared on there as well. Okay. Oh, there is one more question, I think. Any more questions? Does anyone else want to add any to the question?
I have a question.
Yes, I need to say.
Feeling 10% braver, yeah.
I think they're in different places, the questions. Who has a question? Nizreen, do you have a question?
Hang on, there's one in that book.
The importance of women empowerment groups, feeling 10% braver. So they just thank you for the inspiring stories. And let's see, I can't see the one from Nizreen. She says she has a question.
She wrote the importance of women.
What are the importance of women in power groups, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yes, does anyone want to answer that one? The importance of women empowerment groups, which I think this is what we're doing here at the moment, but then this will be obviously extended online. Have you guys had any specific groups or coaching or something that has supported you along the way that has helped you?
Yeah, so I've actually had had coaching, and I found that really, really important because but that was one-to-one, and that was actually really good because actually the coach started to question and challenge me about what was it that I really wanted and who was I, and that was really important. I have to say, so you know, kind of, it's so Women Ed is really, really good in the fact that, like I said, it's not just about women. There's males in the group as well, and like Reem says, you know, you're not asking for anyone's permission. You're not waiting for anyone. You are that go-getter. You are moving forward yourself, but at the same time, you're trying to work collectively. The only when we talk about women's empowerment groups, the only reluctance I have with that is sometimes there's that feminist element to it, where it's like, oh no, get rid of all men and and that's not, I suppose that's not what I'm about, and that's not what Women Ed is about. It's about you know, women and men supporting women developing in leadership. What I do respect though is having women only groups sometimes. So I know that in the UK they've got women only MPQH groups and things like that. I get that, because actually some women need that opportunity to build up their confidence, and they don't feel as confident sometimes where there are men who can sometimes overtalk or rescue them, and you know, they need to have that place where they can have those conversations just amongst women. But it just depends on how those groups are handled. That's my only thing, and what is the message they're going away with. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does indeed. I think while I was doing my master's inside one of the refugee camps, I found out one of the groups which called something similar. I can't remember the name exactly. It was something like Big Sister's Little Sister. And it was like you come and you volunteer yourself, and you're going to support one of the small girls in that camp. And then the way you sponsor them is not monetary. It's actually how you guide them through their journey. And the interesting thing about it is that it is a support group. However, what I found out during this journey is that I learned as much as this little girl. I learned to appreciate more things that I have, and I would just take them for granted. I learned how to give support to others, and the reward, the emotional reward, it's something that I cannot even talk about. And because, as Natasha said, she's a girl and I'm a female, she will open easily for me more than any other male in the group. I totally agree with you, Natasha. It's not only about women, it's a complete community, and the community is not women alone. However, it might be easier sometimes just to share your experience with a female, with another female, because she has been there and she's wearing the same shoes that you are.
Absolutely.
It's very powerful. It's very true. Okay, thank you. So we're just drawing to a close, and just remember to join us and log on and join us at different social media, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and please contact any of our panelists at any point if you do have any other questions. Just a huge thank you for joining us. Thank you to Reem, thank you to Natasha for sharing your very, very inspiring stories, and for giving us your advice and opening up to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther, for leading us.
Yeah, thank you, Esther, thank you, Rania, and thanks, Women Ed.
And Rania, yes, she's amazing.
I'll be contacting you, Natasha.
We'll meet soon, Reem.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.